I never onboard a client just for the sake of onboarding a bigger company. And all these new age people are going to this glamorous world. They are making reels. So people just think that yes, this is very cool and we need to understand it.
I think the whole world shares that problem.
But if you're not doing sales yourself, it's better to shut down your company.
Hi, my name is Jaykumar Hariharan. I'm an executive coach, author, and speaker. Stories That Shift is a series of intimate conversations with leaders about what makes them tick. Stories are not what we say, stories are who we are. Welcome to the show, Rishav Agarwal of Picxele. Rishav, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
It's lovely having you here. You had to brave a lot of traffic on the way. So we really welcome the fact that you showed up.
No worries. It's like fact of the time. Like we need to understand it.
Especially in Bangalore.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, just for the sake of context, could you tell our viewers who are tuning in, what is the Picxele story?
Yeah, definitely. So talking about bit about myself, like how the Picxele came into existence. So it's interlinked with each other.
Excellent.
So back in 2015, I completed my schooling in class 12. So I belong to Asansol. It's in West Bengal. Completed my schooling over there and went for engineering in Chennai in SRM city for IT domain. That's where I saw that I had a hope that I will get a good placement from here because I am spending a lot. So that was one myth which I was staying in, which got solved in second year when I realized that everyone will not get a good job. So that's where I found my interest and accidentally I applied to a marketing internship where I started doing internship and eventually I started liking it a lot. And that's where I applied to all random internships which I saw in the internet. And during that time, 2016, 2017, this internet was booming in terms of startup. New age startups were coming. They were looking for startups in terms of students or in terms of campus ambassadors to do internships. So that's where I did 43 work from home internships in entire 1 year. So
did you have time to study?
So apart from study, I used to do this only. So mostly students were not doing that. So they used to roam around here and there. So I just put my time into that particular thing. And I did all other internships apart from one domain, which was IT. So that's where I found that there's one problem. When I was doing multiple internships, there were a couple of students were not having good experience working with companies in terms of not getting certificates at time, getting stipends, all those things. So they were getting disheartened. Similar, it happened with me also. But again, it was same on the company's end when they were also hiring interns, looking for interns. They had a long process involved, right from rolling out the application to finding interns, giving them tasks, and ultimately giving them stipend. So it was an entire process involved. So that's why the third year, 2017, July month, after the third year got started of mine, I thought that let's build a particular platform. But it was not a platform, just made a group on WhatsApp with 150, 200 students. I went to 10 companies. I told them, your goal is to get your work done. And ultimately, your aim is to achieve your target. So that's what I pitched them. And eventually, in the entire 1 year of third year, I had a community of around 1,500 students across India. And we did around 20 lakh rupees of revenue. And that's where, again, second problem came is like, it cannot be scaled to that certain level. So fourth year beginning, I already made a plan that yes, I'm not going to sit for placement because I don't know what they are going to ask me. And neither I know coding and all those things. So that's where I had a clear mind that by the time people are sitting for placement, I will have this entire 6 months now. So I went for doing market research. I did conducted 4,500 market research from 4,500 different students across India. From there, I just understood that this particular application is needed because I wanted to make an application to make the entire process more smooth. And obviously, I didn't want to put money in certain things which is not being utilized in the market.
Sure.
So that's where I thought that because I'm putting my money, all the money which I have earned, so let's put in the right place so that it can become big or it can be fruitful in the longer run. Neither big nor less, but it should be fruitful in the end. So that's where I started building Picxele in January 2019. And May 2019 was the time. And eventually June 1st was the time we publicly launched it. So from then till now, we have came to around 750K users. And we reached 750K users in February 2023. And we did around cumulative revenue of around 9.5 CR as of now in this entire 4 years. We are completely bootstrapped. We never raised funding. It's not like that I've never tried raising. I failed badly in terms of raising first. Second time it was I got successful, but I denied it. So that was a personal choice what I made during that time. So this was an entire journey. And that's how Picxele came into existence today.
Amazing. So there are a lot of platforms which are bridging the gap between employable talent and organizations. You decided to go one level below.
Correct.
Where they're still studying and they're looking at internships in organizations. And this stemmed from your own personal story about how you applied and you worked with 43 internships. And why does somebody need so many internships at that age?
Okay. So during that time, not everyone was doing internship because this was very new term in the market. This internship, this was not existence. Before 2015, people didn't even know that what is Ola Uber.
Sure.
When I went to Chennai, because in my city, there was nothing called as Ola Uber. When I came to my city, I saw that people are doing something on their mobile phone and a car is coming. I'm saying, what the hell is this? So that's where I understood that's something called as company or startup. 2017 also I didn't know that what is startup. I was just doing like a project because I got an interest in it. I thought that we can make some good money out of it. So that's where I started doing it. So and eventually what I saw, that was a drastic shift in terms of internship. Now companies look for people who can do their work rather than hiring people, all those things. So that's where we are into such segment that we are not providing interns to anyone. We rather take up the work. We have a group of gig workers or part-time workers. We push the task or a project to them, and based on that they complete, and company will, in the end, they will pay us. We pay to the gig workers ahead or the part-time workers ahead.
Excellent.
So that's how we operate from our end. And as I told like before also, that we are into phase like February was the time we decided that we need to rebuild our application. Because if you go and see in the Play Store, it was last updated November 2019. We never updated our application. It was one first version which we launched and we scaled to this number. But again, technology changes, the market changes. Then I thought that we need to bring some more changes in our application. That's why we are in the current phase of revamping the entire product. I expect that under development thing, we cannot say that it will be launched, but I expect that it can be launched by September 2023.
Amazing. So when you're talking about, you said a number of around 750K gig workers are registered on your platform as of now. Just loosely define what kind of gig workers are there on the platform.
Definitely. So predominantly our age group of users lies in between 18 to 26 majority. Okay, 85% of people are in that particular category. If I talk about like the ratio of female and male, it's 70-30. And that's where mostly are the students or the early graduates, if we talk about. And the type of work which we offer is the two segments. One is like where small tasks are there, tasks related to app promotion, social media, market research, surveys, and any kind of particular smallest task which can be read by the steps and can be completed, and they can upload in the application itself. We approve from the backend, company will pay us, we pay to them. That's the process we follow.
Can you just walk us through one case?
Yeah, definitely. For example, if a company comes us that they need to conduct a survey from, say, suppose 1,000 people, and they want to conduct survey from only married women. Now, these gig workers will go to this particular, it can be their mother, it can be their aunties, etc. They will conduct the survey. They will submit it over there. We will check whether the data is correct or not, and we will approve the task. And company will pay us. We will pay to the gig worker. So from our application, they can withdraw it directly to the Paytm or the bank account, whatever it is. So that's the entire process. That's the first level of work we do. The second is like skilled kind of work where we have projects, and we do projects related to 6 to 7 categories. Now we added 3 to 4 categories more. Like until February, we used to do 4 categories. So we do category of related work to telecalling, data entry, content, and then SEO, design, SM, and development. So there are 6-7 categories where we do. We have a specialized set of pool of gig workers or part-time workers. In every segment, we have 10 to 15 based on the demand, and we keep on curating them. We keep on training them. And our main USP is like price point, and second, delivery on time. So this is the main USP we play around. Because if we go to an agency today, they will charge you lakh of rupees to do an SEO. But we do it at a very nominal cost. That's the reason if someone is reaching out to us, they will not say that we are going from you because the cost is a challenge. So that's where I thought that we are not running an agency model. We are running a part-time people model where we are paying to the people who are doing the work. And we are keeping our margin, etc. from there. So that's our entire model. We are not hiring people. We are not becoming that asset-heavy model that we need to pay our employees. So that's why we can reduce our cost to that extent. So that's the entire model which I created, so that companies can have a reliable people who are working at a sufficient cost, and people are also earning. So that's the main model which I was trying, and we are continuing to do it. And currently we are majorly focusing on projects more because our small task segment is stopped due to we are not onboarding more users as of now.
I got it. I think the fly in the ointment being, it's a paradox, right? When you offer services at a certain cost and you're operating an asset-light model, the big question comes on quality.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
And what's your story around that?
Yeah. So there are two things. Like obviously behind everything, the smallest task, there's nothing called as quality because there's a volume game over there. There's a certain level of quality checks which we do. That is a complete thing.
Sure.
So the tasks which are not correct, we reject them, and the simplest thing over there. But when we are doing a projects where we are working directly with the company, so we ensure that we have a one project manager under whom these particular people are working.
Got it.
So that particular person will be our employee who will be ensuring that work is getting delivered on time. That particular person will ensure that if the other person who is working on that particular project is going off, we need to replace that in a smooth transition manner so the company is not getting involved into directly process manner. So companies time will not get hampered. Companies process of handling new people will not get hampered. There will be one POC for them, and they don't know that who is working for them. They are mattered about the end goal. We are getting them the end goals done. In the end, who is operating for them, that is not known to them. In the between, there's a POC. We ensure everything from there. And also there's a weekly, all kind of things, calls which happens, etc.
Sure.
So that's a direct involvement with the company where we work on the projects mostly. And that's where I thought that it's more about the communication. What happens, what I have seen in the major lag in the market, like when people are working with different parties or different vendors, the communication gap is the biggest challenge due to which the quality gets hampered.
Sure.
If the quality, if the communication is proper, the quality will be automatically will be in a good way. So that's one thing which I have recognized, that communication, keep it smooth, keep it clear, what's the expectation, what we are doing, what's the timeline, etc. All those things, due to which the life becomes easier for both the ends. That's the main thing. Communication, the biggest challenge what we face today in terms of quality.
I think the whole world shares that problem in the sense that if you're able to articulate what you would want from people, manage expectations, give them clear-cut timelines and resources, I think project management becomes easier. Then you just have to watch out for outlier events. But by and large, it's like a smooth process.
Exactly.
And I'm sure this is a challenge in every organization when they have multiple meetings and at the end of the day, objectives are still not kind of met and managed, right? So one is you manage to get a SPOC assigned to a particular project, and that person will interact with the organization.
And also the other side of the people who are doing the work.
Great. What kind of organizations seek you out?
Mostly startups and the mid-sized company. We are not working with enterprise level companies. There are only a couple of companies where we have worked before who are into bigger enterprises or unicorns, what we talk about. But mostly our 95% of the companies where we have worked till now, so there are like around 400 plus companies I have worked with as of now, from starting till now. So in that, 95% of the companies will be startups who have just started or they have raised their first rounds, or in the mid-sized company. So that's our mainly, because they are in the more that phase that they don't want to hire resources for each and everything.
Got it. It's a very, very tangible problem that startups are scrapping for money. They want to have a product fit as early as possible, an MVP out, and they don't want to invest too much time and energy into that, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. What's the identity of Picxele? If you have to sum up what Picxele's contribution to the world is in one sentence.
See, we are mostly getting the task done for companies on pay per task basis. So we are not a fixed cost company. That's where. But yes, this fixed cost angle comes into some projects if you talk about. But majority of projects also there is a type of pay per task basis. For example, if you do a content related work, if you do a data related work, if you do a telecalling related work, it's a pay per task basis.
So pay per task, asset light contribution, so that startups can get more nimble and focus on doing their
But job. We always mention we are not a marketplace. We don't do sales. People expectation comes that we will start doing sales, we will do charge commission. So whenever my pitch is very clear. Whenever I say to someone, we are not an outsourcing agency, we are not an agency, we are not an offshoring company, or neither we are a recruitment company. And predominantly we don't do sales. Because 80% of the company, like they reach out to me, they think that I will do sales.
Yeah.
And they think that sales, we are giving commission and sales is happening. It's not a simple thing actually. Sales is something you need to have in-house, what I believe. If you are outsourcing your sale, then you are outsourcing your company itself.
Beautiful. I can't agree more.
So sales is something you need to have in-house people. Lead gen is something it can be generated by someone else. But if you're not doing sales yourself, it's better to shut down your company.
No, I think that's very profound. I think what you just did is a process called disidentification. You're very clear about what are the services you don't do.
And I say that in the first part, so that they don't come and expect that there are some kind of telecalling works. We do two types of things where they have generated leads. They want that leads to be qualified by asking some questions. That we do first level of calling. If the second level of calling is to be done, we say that your employee said do that and make the sales happen. That is first. Second, survey or a feedback kind of call. They have a user base. They want a small survey to be done. So these are two types of things we do in telecalling, where they give the data, they give the script, they give the questions, and we get it done.
Interesting, yeah. Very clear about what are the services you don't offer, and you pretty much say it in your first conversation, so expectations are clear. So communication, coming back to communication.
So I like post like 1 or 2 years, what I understood is like the majority of the time gets saved once you set the objectives and communication is clear. So put the pointers from first hand itself. If you're going on a call with me, you should know that these are the 5 things I need to speak. That 30 minutes call will get reduced to 15 minutes. Or else, if the communication or the objectives is not set, that 30 minutes will call never end at 45 minutes also.
200%. I wish many of my leaders... so I tell them a story that, meetings will get far more effective and much more objective driven if everybody planks during a meeting. So can you imagine that one person who brings up a ridiculous or redundant point, he'll get like booted, outside the conversation.
Exactly.
What's unique about your brand or experience as of now? Is there anybody else who's dabbling in similar offerings?
There are like so many companies in gig economy space where we talk about. But there are like mostly companies are into outsourcing or contractual hiring or blue collar workforce. So these 3 we are not doing. Obviously, the market is very big over there.
I got it. Yeah, that's like a scale.
That's a scale business. But there's an ops heavy again. We need to have a good number of set of people who need to manage all this workforce. So we don't want to be that company. Obviously, the type of works which we do is everyone, like if you talk about agencies, if you talk about freelancing companies, etc., they are doing it. But we are doing it in a different way. Our approach is different, and it's a task-based approach, what we say. And where we say that is like our main USP is price and the timing in terms of delivery.
Interesting. I think, I'm not sure, but I need to fact check this. It is interesting that you said you started with a WhatsApp group. I think Dunzo also started similarly with a WhatsApp group, and then, they kind of migrated. Amazing. So what is your vision for Picxele 2.0, if that were? What does it look like going forward?
See, now you are asking me a difficult question which BC was not asking me before.
So here's the thing, right? The funny thing about planning is inability to plan is a problem, but depending on plans to come alive just as you do it on Excel is stupidity.
Exactly.
It's never going to happen that way. True. Right?
If I talk about the vision, if in terms, I can't say 5 years. I don't even know tomorrow what will happen. So, but I say that what I'm going to do when we launch. There are like a couple of things we are revamping. Firstly, we need to reactivate and re-alive those users what we have on our platform. That's the first goal. We are never done marketing itself. If I talk about these 750K users, all came organically in these 4 years.
Very nice.
3.5 years, whatever it is. So this came organically and we want to reactivate them in the best way possible. There are a couple of new features which we are launching. So that will add on value to that particular experience what they are having. So that's the only thing. And down the line, if I see 1 year, we want to grow to like 1 million plus users, that is there. And obviously, organically, it will happen in that pace itself. So, and we want to provide more and more tasks and more earning opportunities to these college students mostly. Because we have college student user base itself.
Sure.
The people who are getting into college, they want to have some extra pocket income. And we are also offering some of the upskilling options in our application now where they can see videos, they can learn, and then they can apply for projects. So that option we are providing now, that some of the people who have already done tasks in our application, they have been working for us from years. We are telling them to make some videos, make some tutorials in their any raw format, and we will upload them so that they will learn from real-time experiences, and then they can apply for projects. Because not everyone can apply for all those skill-related work. First learn, then apply. If you get selected, then you get a project for that.
Excellent. Do you want to share a great story about one of your gig workers and what their experience was and how it tied back to your purpose?
See, there are a couple. If I talk about, there's one gig worker, like she earned, like in Corona itself, she earned around like 11-12 lakh rupees. So back from the day one when we didn't have the application, she was there, and she was a college student at some different college. And till now also, she's a big supporter of application. So that's one story which I talk about, is like top earner of our application. Post that, there are a couple of people like who earned a lot, and definitely they're not using application today, but they are still ready to support wherever things come into picture, because they knew that at certain level of point they were able to make some money. In the end, what people sell is that you are upskilling yourself, but that upskilling sell brings some money also. If you're not able to bring money, then there's no point of that upskilling also. I always agree to a point that you need to learn first. That is very true. I also say that do things which is for free, for learning purpose, then but that learning can bring you money. If that learning is not bringing you money, then that learning is completely waste of your time and that learning also.
I think it's a sweet spot, right? I mean, it's not learning just for learning's sake. We all agree that learning is a great investment in yourself, upskilling. Nobody says, I don't want to upskill. Everybody says, yeah, I want to upskill. But in the process, in the meantime, if I can get some money along the way,
exactly,
why
in the longer run.
Right?
So that's why I say ki, like many college students who reach out to me, like be it first year, and they look out for straight away the people things which can pay them instantly. I said, first learn something. Do something for free, work with startups, understand how the organization works, how the startup works, how the startup operates. Based on that, you can obviously start your own startup also. Nothing wrong in that. Straight away you jump into an idea and straight away you launch the product, and before launching the product you go for a funding. There's no point.
Sure. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. In fact, I was just having a chat with a younger colleague before this, and we were talking about the importance of money when you're in college and why it plays a role. And yeah, I mean, if there is a learning opportunity, because I don't think many people know this, my summer internship, if you could call it that, was in market research. I did a 2-month project with IMRB those days, and also it was good pocket money at that time. I had to ride around Bangalore, speaking to a brand called LML, the scooter owners, about their experience and stuff like that. It taught me a lot about the ability to interact with people and ask them about their experiences. I think market research was a great kind of a gateway opportunity for me.
I think that LML who used to manufacture Vespa, right?
Correct. Yes.
My father has that. He will never sell that scooter.
Absolutely. It is a good way.
It's a vintage collection.
It is. Absolutely. All right. So on your journey till here, right, now that we've set some context, the series is all about leadership. It's about self-leadership, leading yourself and leading the team that you're in. What are some fundamental leadership principles that you believe in at the grand age of, how old are you?
26.
What are the fundamental leadership principles you believe in at your age doing the work that you do?
So the very basic ones which I see is like, be open to your team members, if I talk about, and be open to your clients also. And based on that, 90% of your problem gets solved. If you start hiding one thing, you need to hide a second thing also. And then we'll eventually lead to a certain place, then everyone will say that this particular person is hiding something. So be open. Like if I am not able to work with some client, I say that upfrontly that we are not able to do it. I never onboard a client just for the sake of onboarding a bigger company. So like previously 1 or 2 years, I used to do sales in a very like vague manner in terms of reaching out people on LinkedIn and not in a correct manner. But eventually I thought that it's the right set of people you need to reach out. And it's okay to say no. Saying no is very important.
Love it.
People don't know how to say no.
Love it.
I have only learned that only. Like after a certain moment, I just say no. If things are not okay, just say no. With your team members, if someone come and say you something that this is something, and you say no, it's okay. People can feel bad for a moment, for a day, for a week, but they will not feel bad for a year. If you just do something which is not doable from your end, you commit, and then you don't do, that relation will always get over.
All right. I think that speaks volumes about integrity. Integrity is all about congruence with your thought, your word, and your deed. Right. The closer we are congruent, the world is an
Exactly.
easier and a better place. It does not, however, mean that being saying no means you got to be disrespectful or rude. It's just that you're setting up expectations and you're clearing it up as early in the conversation as possible. So there is this phrase called radical candor, which essentially means that it does not mean I love you less. I need some boundaries in our relationship, and these are the boundaries. When I tell you no, it just helps you reorient yourself that much more faster. Rather than, just go on your own journey and say, hoga ki nahi hoga, that kind of a quandary. What does it cost you?
So, see, obviously there can be some time that I'm not able to meet with the right set of people. If I say no, I get miss a chance. I get miss a chance also. Some of the investment which I missed by saying no, obviously I saw them, those companies growing up in after 1 or 2 years. That is also thing is there. So this will happen. You need
This
to
is
accept
your
it.
trust as an angel investor.
Yeah.
Got
So this
it.
can happen. And it's okay when I say, and because you need to accept that this is what it is.
Sure.
You need to understand. But it's okay that some of the companies where I invested, some other people have not invested again. So it can be like that also. So you need to understand that both sides have a different phase, and it's okay. So now I have started understanding that by regretting to something will not lead you to any place, because which is gone, it is gone. Now it is no more time that I just sit behind it and I think, yaar, ye kya ho gaya, kyun nahi hua. So if I put, rather than doing something, I will try to do something else which can lead me up to a better place or something good which I try to do. So that's the only thing. So that regret phase, like only to certain things which is very close to my heart, those things I can always regret about. But the smallest things which I talk about, those I have stopped regretting because it's of no use. It's just like wastage of energy, what I understood after a certain moment of time.
Excellent. At 26 years old, you kind of realize that number one, be as authentic and transparent with your stakeholders, which is your team and your clients. And the second thing is, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to say that, theek hai, this is what it turns out. And a powerful realization is that you can't go back and change it, right? And make peace with it and move on. Amazing, yeah. Excellent. Rishav, while you can talk about investment and valuation and funding, startup environment till the cows come home, I would like to segue into leadership and stories, right? We spoke a little bit about the fundamental leadership principles that you normally gravitate towards, and that was great. What I wanted to ask you was a very simple question. Is leadership still relevant as a topic for somebody in your ecosystem? And what's the definition? What's the operational definition of what good leadership is and looks like?
First of all, let's set apart those leaders who are not done anything but they become a coach on the LinkedIn or other platform.
Sure.
That is one segment which we see around.
Sure.
Nowadays, people who are just 20 to 23, they have multiple number of followers, 100K followers. They start teaching how to do a startup, irrespective of they have never done a startup.
Sure.
So that's one side of the leadership which has gone to a different direction now.
Got it.
Because very early people, if I talk about 16 years old, now the mobile phone is so accessible that 12-year-old kid is there. So they start following this glamorous world. People don't know people like good leadership coaches we talk about, having experiences, then they start teaching.
Got it.
That is one way. So we need to identify those people need to come in front of the camera because they are doing it that traditional way itself. And all these new age people are going to this glamorous world. They are making reels, short, all dance kind of videos, and they are making this everything. So people just think that yes, this is very cool and we need to understand this. But there's other side of people who know it. They are not in front of the camera. So that's why I say to every other people who have done something, like say suppose 5 years of experience in their particular sector or 10 years, 15 years in sales, whatever it is, start writing about what you have learned. Because you will have, in 15 years, you will at least have 1500 contents or 1500 learnings. So just start putting about it across everywhere. So people will read it, people will learn it. It's not that just you teach people one-on-one. Start writing about it. People will know you. People will identify you. Most of the people, the problem is like people in the age group of 35, 40, 30s, they know very much. I have talked to so many people now.
Sure.
They are not writing about it. That's the main challenge because they think that they are not able to write. I say that you need not think what people are thinking about you. Just write it. So that's where people will know that this is certain things they need to learn about. So that's my way of looking to leadership. There are so many leaders which I have seen. but they are not known to the people. And knowing about the people is more important to the younger generation, because they need more right direction as compared to the people who have already done something, because they are the people who are seeing all those things. Not like, say, suppose if someone is teaching say how to do a startup, I'm not going to go and see that.
Sure.
But people who are very new, say suppose 16 years old, 17 years old kid, just people who have just started going to college, etc. Those are the ones set of audience who watches this content, and to them, these leaders shall reach out in a right manner. So that's the ultimate thing which I think about. And yeah, it is happening now. Most of the people are doing it. It might take some time, but it is happening.
What I get is, unfortunately, the kind of leadership content that's coming up in the social space right now is not the best, because people who communicate a lot in a very, very young manner don't have the gravitas, don't have the depth in whatever they're doing. And people who have the depth, unfortunately, don't go out there and tell their stories. I think that's so very well said, because what actually happens is, when I coach my senior leaders, CXOs, and I tell them that, listen, you need to talk about your story. You need to stand for something. And what do you stand for? I'm met with a lot of resistance, because they're really, really either shy.
Yeah.
They want to say, why is my story important? I don't feel like sharing it to the world. Exactly. What have I done? And I think it's a beautiful mismatch of sorts. People who don't have much to offer have like a huge following because they've gone and put themselves out there. And people who genuinely have stuff to offer, they hold back. I think imposter syndrome,
Yeah, that is there.
I think that's... But I'm saying, for a 25, 26-year-old at this point in time, is leadership just fluffy content? It's just like, I don't want to listen to Gyan. I don't want to listen to elderly men tell me how to lead myself. I just want to go out there and do it.
Yeah. So see, yes, definitely. If I talk to consider an age group of 21 to 25, 26, these people will not tend to hear those people who are like in 40s.
Correct.
Because they think that this particular person will make me bore.
Sure.
And it is happening. Sure. Because most of the people in that age group, they say in that manner that they will not get excited. This age group will not get excited. So it's more about the timing also. Now, if Sandeep Maheshwari was teaching in saying all those sessions in 2014-15, if he continues to do the same thing in 2023, audience will go down.
Right.
So that is the change in the behavior of the environment also. So you need to understand that people are loving the short contents, the crisp one, and learning is more important. Like what you have learned, just share that. If you go for a entire session of, say, suppose 7 days, 1 hour thing, people will just miss out.
Okay.
People want to learn something which is very short, and obviously there are some key points are there.
Sure.
And obviously it's not a point that we should agree or we should not agree about it, but it's just that people are being skeptical about it, that I need to read something which is very short nowadays. I want to hear the contents which is very short, and I get some learning out of it. So that's where this short form of contents also gone into different direction, and that's where this is there.
You're absolutely right. But I think unless and until, for lack of a better word, elderly people like me learn to put out great stories there, I don't think it's great for the world, right? But something to be said about Sandeep Maheshwari. This is a very interesting thing that happened to me. I was at Bombay, and I was heading to the Taj Land's End, and I happened to talk to the auto rickshaw driver. And he was talking to me about his life and whatever. And I said, what do you listen to more often than not? And he said, sir, I like Sandeep Maheshwari a lot. I listen to him. That gives me enough enthusiasm to face another day. And that really struck me, right? Especially in a country like ours, if you have great stories that can inspire somebody and make their life better, isn't that a beautiful thing, right? And of course, we are not going to take somebody's word and say, okay, I'm going to apply this completely. But if they listen to 5 or 6 people, they take the best pieces of everything, it becomes a good construct for them to move forward. And all of us need like a leg up at some point, saying that, hey, listen, it's okay, man. It happens, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
And that adding to that, there's 2 ways of doing it. Either you keep doing the way you are doing it. If audience is coming, is good. If they are not coming, then also it is good. But you are delivering your value. What is it? That is one way of doing. Or you get shifted to the trends, what is happening. So now see, for example, I never make videos myself and upload on Instagram because I am not used to do it, and neither I like it. neither I can do it. I know that I'm not able to do that. If someone is talking to me and that recording has been done, that I get uploaded because it's more on a conversational level.
Sure.
That is one way of doing. But I tend to write more. And I write the smaller context, etc. And what I have learned, instead of just seeing from somewhere and copy pasting it, that is one way of doing it. And I knew that some of my contents will be offending to someone else. And my each and every post will be offending to someone else. So that is one thing which I have seen. But it is okay. Again, I am not targeting that 10 people, but I want to target that 1,000 people who can get some value out of it. So you need to understand, it's not about making your contents viral in day or so, that these things will reach out to the right set of people. Reaching out to right set of people is more important rather than just getting likes and followers. All those things is not that relevant to me.
Sure. I think I wish all my coaches were to listen to you, because you ultimately write for yourself, right? I mean, some of the best filmmakers in the world, I still remember there was somebody who asked, not Martin Scorsese, another very famous filmmaker, and like, no, you can't do that. That's not how films are done. And he turns to them and says who? He says, I like that. I like doing that. I like watching that. And so I'm going to do that. And that's true of James Cameron also. When he did Avatar, the studio executives turned to him and said, 10 minutes of flying, I don't think, that's too much time being spent on that. And James said, you know what, I'm the director. I'm taking an intuitive leap because this is what I want to watch as an audience. And guess what? Those 10 minutes were the best part of the entire movie. And that section of the movie spawned a ride in Disney World. I've never seen my kids stand for 3 hours in a line and not make a complaint. For that particular ride, it's called Pandora. They stood for 3 hours for a 10-minute experience of what that flying looked like. So I think it's brilliant when, even if nobody gravitates to your content immediately, but to put in the hard work and to be as authentic as possible to your story, right? I think that's great. Where do you go to learn about what we used to call softer skills in leadership, but fortunately, those are becoming the harder skills today? Domain expertise on one end, ability to get along with people and get work done is getting to be even more critical now. So, where do you go to replenish that cup?
See, there are two ways which I do. First one is like, I either implement or keep doing things. I do some mistakes from there and then I learn automatically.
Excellent.
Just like in my startup, I made very good losses. Like losses in good lakhs also.
I love the way you say, I've made very good losses.
So from there, I understood that this is a couple of things I shall not do it. And this is one thing which I shall never do it. So from that, I understood that these are a couple of mistakes which I should avoid always. That is one way of doing it. I always try to implement. If I talk about simple thing, if you want to learn Google ads or Facebook ads, people go on YouTube and start watching ads. And people start watching videos. I say them very clearly. By watching videos, you cannot learn. By watching videos, you can understand the process, but try to spend 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, implement that. You see what is the performance, then people are not ready to spend money. They are ready to watch video. They are ready to see content, etc. what is there. But in order to learn something, you need to spend. And that is a key thing which I always say.
More than spending, I think what you're trying to say is learn by doing.
That's the only thing, yeah.
Imagine there is a boat that is being built and it is always on land. And this person is learning to use the boat while it's on land.
There's no point of doing it. So just implement it. Yeah. That is one way. Second is like, I also don't hear the bigger contents which I talk about. I'm also like, I just read things. Now only I started reading actually. I never read books also before.
Amazing.
This is a 2023. I kept a goal that I will read my first book. I am reading that book now. And after that, now I read the context or what people have learned. I am the startup ecosystem, but I mostly follow people who have done something great in the ecosystem. To them only I read most. That's where I go and understand. Second thing is like you talk to people. The more you talk, the more you understand. because people think that talking is one thing, you're just talking for the sake of talking.
Beautiful.
But just talk to people, you will at least learn one thing from them.
Amazing.
So that is one thing. So as of now, I've talked to so many people, like in thousands also. And if I talk to good people, if in terms of people elder than me or people who are more experienced than me, from them, be it anyone, I might have learned one new skill or one new domain which I was not knew. Previously, like previous Saturday, I was talking to one people who were talking about the telecom industry. I never knew that how it operates in the back end.
Sure.
Front end, I view everyone, GOA is there, people are using it. Back end, no one knows.
Nobody, yeah.
So
the
that's
unglamorous side of the business.
So that's where I understood from that particular person having 22 years of experience in that. So that's where when you talk to people, that is it. So I love talking more rather than reading, etc. All those things. Once you talk, you understand more and you get more gist around it.
I think one is learned by doing. The second is something called as conversational intelligence.
Yeah.
Because you're not having a conversation just for the sake of conversation, but your brain is ideally looking for points that you can learn, be it from whoever, right? And exactly. I think that's a wonderful quality here. Tell me a little bit more about your personal story. What is really inspiring for me is when you told me that till 12th you didn't study in English. And now you're talking about writing content and you're fairly conversant in English. It's hard for you, but you've gone there and you've done the work, right? So just take me through a little bit of your formative years in Asansol.
Yeah. So it's nothing like that. I didn't know, but I didn't know how to speak. I know how to write actually. It was an English medium only, but naam ka English medium tha actually. Achha. So that was like, no one used to talk in English. So that was one thing. And like hardly people used to talk in English.
Sure.
But I was too shy enough in talk to English also because that's one thing. So I never had a confidence enough in talking to people. The first year I passed it like this only of my entire college. I was just sitting aside. I never used to talk to girls also. So that one thing happened. So that's where the second year I thought that when I started doing internships and all those things, I got confidence in talking to people online, etc., on chats, etc., all those things. So that's where, and in Chennai 2015, December, flood also came. So during that time we got stuck in flood. During that time so many people met whom I never met in the college also. During that time we got to stay with each other. That's the time we got more and more friends, etc. All those things happened. With that, when you keep on talking, and that's what the time that 1 month was there, it was completely vacant. I was just started seeing some of the DC web series, Arrow and Flash, something like that. And then I started listening and reading that, what is a subtitle? Subtitle, and that's where I got more and more words around it. And by the process, I kept on talking. This fear of talking to people went away. This fear of having conversation went away. But then too, I was into that reluctant stage that I was shy enough to communicate something. I felt that this particular person will get offended. But after 2 years, like from 2021 end or 2022 onwards, I stopped thinking that also. I said, if he's getting offended, I cannot help something in that. He might get offended, or he or she might get offended for some particular reason, but that's okay. I can also be the other side of the picture.
Got it. Not holding back.
Yeah.
Essentially having the courage to muster up the courage to express yourself. And in your formative years of communication, you're saying that sometimes there is a tendency for people to get hurt.
Exactly.
Right? But you're saying that's okay for now. I will get better at this.
Yeah.
But at no point in time I'll hold it to myself and
say, because
I will
what
not
happens
communicate.
When you go back and you think that you have not told this thing to that particular person during that time.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, people think that कि मैंने ये क्यों नहीं बोला उस वक्त. Then they think after 2 months. Because you cannot go back, you cannot go forward or backwards, and they say that कि I need to say this thing to that particular person that 2 months ago or 2 months after.
Yeah.
That's the only time you can say. And after that you cannot say. You cannot just go randomly and say that कि मुझे वो 2 महीने वाली बात अच्छी नहीं लगी थी.
I agree.
You cannot go and say that. I realized after doing onboarding some of the clients which I didn't want to onboard.
Sure.
That I understood from there. So it's always okay to say things the time when they are saying. For example, there are few clients who don't turn up. Like in 2020, when I used to reach out to them, they never used to reply. Now they see that I became an investor. They reach out to me. I say that they text me that I just missed the previous message. I say that you have not missed it. You have ignored it. Because and they understand that I have said that.
Got it.
It's not about missing. No one is missing your text on anywhere. I'm being very frank on that. If people are not replying in 24 hours or 7 days, they are seeing and ignoring it. And it's true. I also say that I have ignored your message. And it's okay to say that. because you don't want to reply. The person is not adding value to it. It's okay to ignore, but accept it.
Yeah.
That is more important. I say that upfrontly, that if I am not replying to your message in 24 hours or 48 hours, assume that I have ignored it. I write it and everyone knows it now. Most of the people who know me, they have assumed this. Now they have this assumption.
Got it.
This is more important if I talk about. People don't ignore you. People don't miss the message. They ignore you.
Got it. Hard lesson, but important lesson, right? Another fallacy that template that I've seen is I don't have time. If something is really important for you, that will find a place in your calendar. That will sneak its way into the way you're conducting yourself. So the essential question is, how important is that for you? If you're not doing it, that means in your mind you've not assigned it the kind of importance that you ideally should. Talk to me a little bit about your formative years, growing up in Asansol. What has gone along in the dish that made you who you are today? Who you are tomorrow can be a different person, but till now there are some ingredients that have gone in, right? What do you think are those ingredients?
See, until 12, I never wanted to do business because I used to see my parents like having good losses also again.
Sure.
And I thought that I am not going to do this kind of life where entire tension is there.
Sure.
And there's something else is happening because I came from that particular stage that we used to stay in a rented house. Then we moved to a own house. Then my father had a own shop, etc. All those things we have seen. So that's where I thought that I'm not going to do business. I will do job. And that's the only reason I went for doing engineering. Or else I could have stayed back over there. I could have just completed a normal degree. I could have joined my family business. So that could have been that ideal situation. I didn't want to stay in that particular environment. That's the reason I moved out. That was the only reason I wanted to see the different things. And that's why I told very clearly to my father that I'm not going to study in West Bengal. I'm going to stay or study in different state, because that will obviously give me different perspective.
Sure.
So that was the one thing. But again, eventually I got landed into this business only, but it is a different thing, etc. But yes, again, the same way, the same process, the same thing which I used to see from my grandfather, that never take money from someone, or you say as a udhar. So that also I have never taken in my life. I have not taken loan, or neither I have taken money from anyone. I tried taking it. Then I understood it, like it was just one thing which I always heard from my grandfather, that don't take money. So it's something like that. We have always seen that like people take loans or udhar, and after that the person goes away. Then all the people come and stand in your door that ki wo person mere se paisa lekar gaya tha, they have not returned me. So that one thing, when my grandfather also passed away, so no one came to our doorstep and said that that particular person took money from us.
Got it.
That is one thing which I always understood, and that is one more important learning which I have understood, that it's all about how you set yourself in your life. It's obviously money is important, but again, for money, don't lose your integrity as a whole. And like all those things can happen. Today money can stay, tomorrow money will not stay, but you as a person will stay, and people will remember you for that, not for the money you had.
Amazing. Very good. Anything else that in your formational years that you'd like to talk about? I love the transition of the shy engineering grad who then opened up. There are a lot of leaders, and you might think that it's limited to very young leaders, but it's not so. There is a sense that being an introvert will not make for great leadership. I can say that's bullshit. But what do you think?
See, again, like until when I was in school, I never gone to stage, and that morning assembly used to happen. We used to give a speech, something like that, moral of the day. I never went to doing that. So I just escaped away from doing it. Like, for example, if my turn used to come, I used to go absent on that day. So I was that person actually. Or I used to get fell sick that I don't want to go.
Obviously.
Entire 12 years of my school went away like this.
Got it.
Then I never felt that this is important during that time. I was just doing it for the sake. I today also, I don't even know that why I took science. That was one, because the only reason I took science, because everyone else in my family was doing commerce. So people don't ask me question about commerce, think that when you are becoming CA, so I took science. Or else they will sit in my head and they will say that your CA is not cleared yet.
Sure.
So, and now they cannot come and tell me that your engineering is not cleared. Because every person will clear engineering. If you're not able to clear engineering, then there's a fault. So it's a simple thing which I understood, that no one has done something which is called science. So let's take that. For 1.5 years, I never understood why I have taken. Last 2 months I studied and got passed and etc. All those things happened. So that one thing I understood, that something is important and it can happen with time. Either you hold yourself or you just let yourself free. And but one thing will be always there is like, be it like introvert kind of person or extrovert kind of person, you need to let yourself free for once. Because by the time you have that one set ki log kya kahenge in your mind, that will not let you open. So that day when you assume that, let the people say what they are saying, that day you can do whatever you want. That is the only thing which I say to everyone. Just let that one thing go. कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, रिश्तेदार क्या कहेंगे. मैं बोला रिश्तेदार जो वो तभी आएंगे, शादी है या तो कोई मर गया.
Correct.
They will not come any day of your life, or they will never come. And neither they will come when you don't have money. They will only come when you have money.
Yeah.
So that's the way I see relatives also. So there will be some good relatives, but 90% of the relatives will be like that. They will ask you when you have money today. If you don't have money today, they will not ask you. It's a simple thing. And everyone knows this, but no one tells this. Because they think that रिश्ते खराब हो जाएंगे. So that is one thing we need to accept. And with that, you can let yourself free. That I understood. So that is one thing which happened. And then that's the only time when I thought let's speak to people actually. Let's talk, and let's talk in public. So that people will understand these all things more. Because these all things need to be adopted by listening to different other people. We cannot read it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that is one thing which I understood. Ki yes, this is the right time or the right phase. And one thing is that ki stop assuming what people will think.
So at your age, at 26, hunger is almost like a byproduct. Hunger for material goods, hunger for growth, hunger for bigger, more, better things in life. But sometimes what happens is, like I said, it kind of dies down. And I wanted to dig your brains in terms of seeing how to keep the fire burning as much as possible. If you have any hacks that you can pass on to slightly elderly leaders, age-wise, huh? Not just age-wise.
So, I can't say hacks, but there are a couple of things which I have observed. When people are not taking risks in their initial days of their journey, they cannot take risks afterwards also. They become constrained. So, I have met some people who are NRIs now. They went from India to outside country. Now they have money, but they are not have that appetite to put those money into a riskier assets. They want to invest in startups.
Sure.
But they take a lot of time in order to evaluate them. But if you want to invest in startups, the one thing which is there is very constant. Even if the startup is very good, it has the tendency to fail. And you need to invest on those startups, majority. So that's where this risk-taking appetite is the first one thing which I have seen in the most of the people who have not taken risk in their early days. Yeah. They don't take risk afterwards also, because they become comfortable. So that comfortable, they have now everything. Their kids are married, they have a big house, they have everything now. But they have a lot of money also.
Yeah.
But they are now not able to figure out that where to put this money. And in that process of figuring out, they are spending their 1 or 2 years more. Then again, other things are happening for them, etc. All those things. That is setting most of the thing apart. People who think a lot, be it anyone, be it like people are in 20s, people in 30s, 40s, 50s, anyone. People who think a lot, they will always constrain or restrict themselves to so many things. First, start taking some of the risk, which will always keep you aside from the materialistic world. That if this goes off, it's okay. If this comes in, this is also okay. So once you have that appetite of evolving that particular risk, be it any age group, then you will stop thinking, and then you will become more kind of a people. Then you will set you apart and you will start doing things about. So that's the only thing which I've seen. People having a lot of money, they are not able to take that risk because they think that this money will go off. You should think that you will only know stay where the money will go now. So that one thing we need to understand, where the money will go. So if you have money, like for example, for the people actually, they need to start thinking in that way that it is okay if I lose something, because now I have everything. Now I have nothing to lose. I am taking risk now because I don't have anything to lose now. But if in 30s or 35, once I get married, I might constrain myself in taking some of the risks which I am doing now.
Sure.
Because that will have me more responsibilities as compared to today what I am having. But I have already taken it. But once I start taking it again, I can take it right away, because I have already taken it in the initial stage of my journey. So that always stays. So people need to start taking risk, be it any age, be it 19-year-old kid or a 49-year-old person. Anyone can do a small risk step by step, so that it becomes more easier for you to absorb all the things what is happening in the environment.
Do you think people really change?
Yeah, everyone changes. See, people change with time, with all the instances what happens. So people will change, and obviously, but there are certain things which you should not change. Like for example, your behavior towards other people, like depending upon you have money today, you don't have money tomorrow, and you are earning. So what happens? People change due to this glamour kind of things. For example, I was nowhere before 5 years. Now I have everything, but you are forgetting those people who helped you before 5 years. So never forget people who helped you in initial days. Be it today you are very famous, today you are not famous, today you are infamous, whatever it is. But never forget those people who helped you in initial days. That is one thing which I have understood. Second is like changing is okay, depending upon the nature of the changes. But don't forget people who helped you in entire journey of your life, be it from the time you born till the time you die, etc. Don't forget those people. Actually, those are the more critical stage. And same goes from different side also. They should also be in, whether you are successful today, you are not successful, they are the same person with you.
Got it. So retain the same authenticity with people who've been there during your lean years. But I loved what you said when you began, like, yeah, everybody is capable of change, right? It could be organically due to a time. It could be organically due to the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Because one of the fundamental things when I work with leaders is there is a tendency to say, this is who I am. I can't change. Kind of a thought process. And that's like a little disheartening to note in some leaders. How important is physical and mental fitness for leaders today?
Yep. Mental is okay. I can say about mental, I was not that focused on physical. Now I started being like, that's why I asked for black coffee.
Very nice.
So past 3 months I realized that I am becoming a bit lazy. So that's why I started focusing much on physical fitness also now. Like wake up early. I used to wake up early before also, but I used to lie down on the bed and I used to use phone, etc. Now I just wake up and go for doing something like exercise, all those things. So those all things are very important because I understood that obviously work is important, everything is important. Being physically fit is very important because that will keep you very much focused. That is one thing which I started realizing because I never did it. Always heard saying people that be mentally fit, be physically fit, it will help you improve your focus, but I never implemented. 3 months before I started doing this, all those things, all etc., changed the eating habit. From 4 to 5 days eating junk, I eat junk one day. So that's all those things which I started implementing, and I understood that this is important because we are staying in such kind of environment that you will not be alive for more than 50-60 years now. You cannot be alive for 80 years entirely fit, and after 40 years your body will become something like that which is of no use. For people like us, actually staying in the generation like us, 10-year 12-year-old kid consuming the foods which is very like we talk about not very that much healthier. We know that. I also accepted that I cannot, my body will not be same as compared to now. What will I have in 40?
Correct.
So that is very true now because that's where you need to push that a bit more. 40 se 50 ho jaye kam se kam. So that's the only thing we can do. And yeah, for currently, mental fitness is very important. Again, just just do things which is very fit for you, and just keep away from those things which is bothering you. That is more important. And obviously, things will bother you. That is okay. But try to be away from those things, and eventually it will happen.
I think there are a couple of things, right? One, for a startup founder like yourself and a lot of other young leaders who want to make their mark, like you said, focus is extremely important. I for results is extremely important, which is productivity, right? Being productive in each day is a huge reward in itself. And somebody asked Richard Branson this, and he said, you want to be more productive, work out more. And they're like, are you like for real? He's like, yeah, that time that you spend working out more enables your body and mind to work efficiently in the other rest of the time. And that is fuel for your productivity. I think that's great. And talking about mental fitness, right? For young leaders today, and obviously there is a generational gap. And what are young leaders today grappling with, which increases the need for better mental health? Because 10 years ago, nobody used to talk about mental health, correct?
So according to you, what is the definition of mental health?
Excellent. Let's come to... so if there is somebody who's saying that, I want to be happy all the time, that's really stupid. because happiness as a state of mind is a choice, and we are not meant to ironically be happy all the time, because then there won't be evolution at all. Dissatisfaction with the status quo is often the launch pad for creating something new. So this is one of life's paradoxes, right? Buddha says samsara, this samsara that holds you back, and samsara is dukkha, is like desire is suffering. So that is one end. And the other end is, if you don't desire for something, you will never create anything meaningful. If you're completely satisfied with everything around you, why will you ever create something different, right? So it's a little bit of a paradox. But I think the ability to distance yourself and notice toxic characteristics in yourself and other people is a healthy beginning. When you find that you're with people where your energy goes down, where you're being condescended, where you're being belittled, and you don't feel great, your heart is telling you that you're not feeling great in this environment, but more often than not, we continue with that because we are tribal in nature, right? We all want to belong to teams. We all like to belong to groups. But when you start recognizing these signs and you step away, I think that's a first step towards putting yourself first. We all think that, we need to live for others. Of course, you need to live for others, but before that, you need to live for yourself.
If you're not happy yourself, then you cannot make happy others also.
Absolutely. So we have a truism in the coaching practice. We said, if you are deprived, how can you provide? अगर आपका गैस टैंक आधा पेट्रोल है, आप किसी और को कैसे पेट्रोल देंगे? नहीं होगा. But I think there is a huge need to be more connected with your own self and spend some time alone. It doesn't have to be meditation per se, but just spending some time alone. And I encourage my leaders to journal and make sure that the journal is only for their eyes. So write about what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and it's a cathartic kind of a process. Excellent. Do CXOs have to be good at storytelling, or is it just like, theek hai, it's a nice skill to have, but boss, in a tech-driven world, because startup is tech predominantly, is storytelling important?
I would not say it is important, but it is okay to have that skill. Because in 2019, when I went for raising, I didn't know how to tell story. I just went and got that I am building something and this will happen like this. I never told story. So that one thing which I have understood, storytelling is important once you start relating with your context. But what happens, people start telling storytelling with respect to some other context. Build your own story. Now today, if you are having a conversation, you ask that what's a Picxele story. That's where I told my backward story.
Yes.
That is my story.
Yes.
That storytelling skill you should have. But you are relating with story with XYZ person who is not alive today, then you build that. I used to be like Gandhiji, then Gandhiji came and I started doing movement. So people start relating storytelling with like that particular perspective. And you know that nowhere Gandhiji has impacted my life in a direct way. Obviously, they impacted the nation, which is very true. We are always grateful to that. But in terms of storytelling, it's not relevant for me. So never link your storytelling with different perspective. Link your own story and tell that story. That is more important. So
I think that's a much more authentic way, because you've lived your story as against borrowing from somebody else.
Exactly.
Even if it's like somebody as great as Mahatma Gandhi. I think, but unfortunately, storytelling has a very negative context. Kahani mat banao. Right?
That's the reason people say, because they are building story from others. Then people say the kahani mat banao.
Correct. So I think storytelling as a CXO, especially when you're beginning, when you're raising funds, when you're building consensus, when you're building a shared vision for the team, that ability to articulate and communicate very powerfully, I think is a good skill to have. The definition of storytelling, however, does not mean you quote words of JFK or whatever. It has to be as resonant to who you are, and more importantly to what you do. Agar aapka kahani is taraf hai or your actions are this way, it's very, very not very congruent at all. Has there been a favorite teacher or a leader who's impacted your behavior?
Very difficult question. Like in terms of behavior, there is
or somebody who's made you think.
Okay, so one teacher is there. Time.
Wow.
So as I said, another teacher is there. Losses. So the best learning what I've got in my life by making losses itself. The very first company in 2017 June, which I onboarded, and I never did an agreement with them. So the billing was around 40K. For me as a college student, 40K is a big amount.
Sure.
I need to pay 31,000 rupees to the people who have worked on that particular task. Now there were two things. Either I go away, run away, I say that I'm not going to pay you because client is not paying.
I didn't get money.
And again, it will go back to the same story where I faced the problem that I am not paying, and that particular thing will not come. So I paid that particular thing from my pocket. I think that yes, these people will trust me in the future. So that one move got me from 2017 to 2021. Again in 2021, I don't want to quote the amount. I made again a big loss in that particular thing. That's again the second story came into the picture, that now there's no more Maya from money. So because if people are not giving you money or not paying you, they will never pay. Be you do case or there's an agreement, there's nothing to do with those agreements also. So I understood that having agreement is also not important. Not having agreement is also not important.
Beautiful.
Because it's ultimately the trust which is the most valuable game. So I mostly, after that, I understood one thing. I'm only going to work with people whom I'm able to relate. Second, trustable people, and coming via some or the other referrals, etc. So people whom I feel that I'm not getting that particular vibe in terms of they are having so many questions beforehand itself, why they might do some or the other things in the afterwards. So I just refrain myself. And even if I'm working with some such kind of people, etc., I make things very clear and I write all those things everywhere. This is one thing written. Now everyone knows that this is a world of social media. If I am quoting something, if I am agreeing to something, these people are going to put everywhere. So this is one thing. And many people know that I put things. And I don't name it, but I put things. That this has happened, this is how it has happened. So that this is very much clear, which I have understood. Is like with the time, this time in terms of understanding people and talking to people, these are the more valuable teachers which I have seen. And like all the people whom I have talked, those I consider as a learning itself. I will not name one person, but everyone to whom I have talked today, be it I worked, be it my interns or be it my gig workers or be it any client, be it you, to everyone whom I talk will be one learning, or every teacher will be there in our life. So that is more important. But yes, you just need to understand, and the time is very big teacher of yours.
I think time and loss, amazing, yeah. Really, really interesting. But what really stood out in your story is your ability to follow your integrity. At 25 years or 24 years or 23 years, I don't know how old you were, when you had to return the money.
That time 6 years ago, not so 20.
20. At 20 years, for you to dip into your own wallet and pay somebody else because that was your commitment, in spite of the fact that you were not getting paid on the front end, I think that speaks volumes about you as an individual and as a leader. Rishav, it's been amazing having you on the show, and I hope to be in touch with you, and we'll circle back for another episode as and when things progress with Picxele. Yeah?
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, buddy.